I will stop
Hello,
the
everyone.
screen. Yeah.
So these are unprecedented times. People have been talking a lot. I've been attending a lot of webinars. A lot of you are probably bored with these webinars, but this is the only way we can connect. So the idea here today is that we've got a group of designers, very well-renowned designers from various parts of the world. They've come together to be able to uh, tell you what you can do. We've been hearing that this can be done, that can be done, but really what needs to be done, what exactly can be done in terms of the steps, in terms of the products. So basically we are saying that unclutter this, give us pointed solutions, and we've got this group of people to tell us what they can do to actually tell you exact step-by-step guide to reopening your restaurant. The restaurant opening obviously is going to take some time, and we all know that there will be guidelines from the food service authorities, and those guidelines are the ones that you need to all follow. Whatever we talk today is besides those guidelines, and whatever we are trying to do is basically trying to give back to that industry that has made us where we are, has given us so much of job, has made us so innovative. So this is a time that we want to help assist, the industry itself. And I'm going to introduce the panelists. Very, very interesting bunch of people here. Very renowned and very well published. They've all won a lot of awards. The first one I want to introduce is Mr. Sunil Khanna. He is the owner of Food Service Design India. He's one of the stalwarts of the industry. He's a person who's been, part of designing commercial kitchens from the last 20-25 years. He sets the commercial designing. He does the templates for the kitchens. He's trained F&B professional, so he provides basically 360-degree solution. Our next panelist is Mr. Ashwin Lavekar. He and his wife, Ms. Anjali, have established their practice for more than 25 years. They are responsible for many prestigious and award-winning projects. The awards run into few pages, so please visit their website. Our next guest is, next panelist is Pratik Chaudhary. He owns the First Ferry, again a very well-renowned firm in Middle East and Dubai. They do a lot of amazing restaurants which are talk of the town, and his designs are very different from the normal. And then we have Mr. Satyajit Patwardhan, who resides in Pune, and his company is called Amoeba Design, which he has founded again with his wife, Ms. Pasmeen Shah. He's responsible for very interesting projects in Pune and Pan India. And he is a man who wears a lot of creative hats. And like the name of his company, he doesn't believe that there is any that the change is constant. Britta Gupta and Amit Gupta from Studio Symbiosis, they have completed their masters in architecture in London some time back, and then they worked with the famous architect Zaha Hadid. They worked in our office for a few years, 5-6 years. They believe in their philosophy for designing smart and sustainable designs. Again, they have been recipients of many awards, and they have been published in many magazines. Lastly, but not the least, Sharat Kumar. He brings in with him a caliber of designing and executing the F&B projects, and he's been part of the industry for almost 3 decades. And again, he's also been mentioned in a lot of designs and construction magazines. Finally, my name is Sona. I've also been very focused in designing only restaurants for the last 20 years or so. I have completed more than 600 projects in the restaurant space. And I have been also a year back, we put in an online design portal called Sprinterior Designs, where we actually are able to give contactless design to some of our customers from world over. We've been doing this for even clients outside of India and a lot of clients in India. So our process is very, I mean, the whole thing is very process oriented. So that's our design. Plus we also supply materials that are required. moving forward, let me get to the questions, and let's see how we can, how the bunch of us can, help restaurateurs to be prepared when they open. The first question is to Ashwin and Amit about customer behavior. What is your take on how the customer will behave when the restaurants actually open up?
Can I start off?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yes,
Yes.
Ashwin.
So we are all in a unique place called India, and going by the scenes that we saw yesterday when the liquor shops opened in India, I think we will be having a lot of challenges when the restaurants really open up, because though we may all talk about discipline, etc., when it goes to implementing these things, we have a huge challenge, because there is a serious lack of indiscipline, lack of discipline in the crowds that we see. However, if we are looking at a segment which is the fine dining, we would be having a lot of people we would be highly educated and who would be um, very much in sync with what is going on around the world. So the problems would be less over there, and they would be quite ready to discipline themselves and be ready to take in all the suggestions that would come in. So there are two things to it. It's about how the customers are trained. It will take some time to train the customers in a particular manner when it comes to visiting the restaurants, and basically the behavioral patterns. It will take time in India to get accustomed to that, and it are the two sides to a coin. It's how the customer would react, and how the discipline will also have to be from the side of the restaurant owners as well. So it means that there has to be an adaptability from both sides.
Great, great, Ashwin.
That's very much important, I think.
Yeah, thank you, Ashwin. Amit, could you shed some light on what do you perceive as a customer behavior?
See, from our side, if we understand why a customer goes to a restaurant, it's only about the experience.
I think Amit has been muted.
But you hear me? Hello, do you hear me?
Yeah.
We can hear you, but you're muted. Yeah.
Yes, just using the same mic.
All right,
So,
great, good.
So I think anyone who goes to a restaurant is for the fact that it's an experience and to enjoy the cuisine. Now, what has happened during lockdown, you see that everyone is becoming a master chef. So there should be something add-on when we are trying to reopen and getting people back. So apart from experience, which is always there in a restaurant, another thing which we need to do is transparency and awareness. So through social media, through websites, we need to make a person feel safe, because of course eating outside is not as important as contacting the issue, like rather than getting sick. So if a person feels safe, he would of course step out of his house and enter the restaurant. So I think through websites, through social media, we need to show that how the delivery process, there are a lot of stages when it comes to food preparation into a restaurant, the delivery boys, the preparation in the kitchen, the handling of the food. So we need, if the restaurant owners can create a very seamless system of showcasing the people that if they enter, then they're safe, then people will start entering. And of course, so we don't use the term social distancing, but we call it physical distancing, because social distancing means that we are actually cutting off our social ties. So this physical distancing norms also have to be followed. But
Great,
still,
great. Thank you so much. So jumping on directly to what the restaurant should do, I want to ask Satya and Pratik here, that should restaurant owners redo their interiors a bit now, modify a few things, add few things? What should they do to reopen? Go on, Pratik. I'm not sure if Pratik is able to hear us. Satya, are you there?
Yeah.
Yeah, go on. Tell me what can the restaurant owners do to really reopen in terms of the interiors?
I think if, as far as like interior point of view is concerned, I guess like there's a lot that probably they'll have to do with the internal layout, but that again completely depends on the way the existing layout has been set up. I mean, if it has been done in a permanent way, then like it's too tough to sort of make any immediate changes, because then that is also going to add to the lot of money, and right now I'm sure nobody wants to put in more money having faces having like they must have already faced quite a bit of losses right now. So I think, yeah, so it's pretty much they'll have to maybe, without making really any certain changes in the existing interiors, what they can probably do is limit the number of people they want to enter in the restaurants. And that's how probably they can probably work around the existing system, because I think any change is going to cost money, and I'm not too sure whether anybody is willing to put in extra buck in the same business right now.
All right. Thank you, Satya. Okay, my take, I have a take on this, that yes, restaurateurs will have to redo slightly their interiors, because they'll have to instead of, they'll have to innovatively reduce the seats instead of just putting red tape markers or yellow tape markers and cutting up the seats, because you have to not scare the customer. Don't make it too sanitized. Hospital, should not look like a hospital. How can you make it warmer? What areas can you cordon off? Of course, a designer can help you rethink this, and I'm sure designers will come up with very economical or no cost solutions on redoing your layouts uh, for a lesser seating capacity. There are ways to do it, and we have certain suggestions on that, and can be done. And I think you can't avoid it. You will need to do it. My next question is to Mr. Sunil, and if anybody else wants to answer that, besides the seating area, what do you think we need to do to the kitchen area? Does that need to be replanned? What happens to the entry where the goods are coming in? What do you think we need to do for the wash area, for the the staff safety? Staff safety is also very important. What do you suggest to that?
Yes, we definitely need to do a lot, because it's an imperfect world. We had all the standards in place over the years for last few decades, but they have not been followed. The base kitchens or the good big hotels do follow standards. Food factories follow standards, but restaurants can't follow standards because of lack of legislation or the control by the government authorities. So a lot of norms don't get followed. And the major reason for that is the training. So all that needs to be corrected now. We have reached a point where we need a correction, though it could have been already in a good condition to suffice for the epidemic, for the pandemic. Now we of the house, if our visitors or salesmen of different companies or our vendors keep on coming, we have the same situation. So first is to control the traffic in back of the house more than what we're doing in front of the house. So that involves some changes in the buying procedures, selection of vendors, consolidation. So thermal screening. And then in the past, we had two sections for cleaning, veg and non-veg perishable sanitizing. This was a mandatory requirement, and we had to work around it due to lack of space. But now we have a third requirement. We also have a requirement to sanitize items which are not perishables. Now, these items which cannot be washed and cannot be cleaned with chemicals are packed items. They need to be kept on shelving in isolation for a certain time. FSSAI has issued its advisory on that. So this needs to be done. So all the employees now, besides this, now, because of social distancing, it is not going to be possible for employees to work adjoining to each other or cross over to wash hands or to use a waste bin. So we need to provide workstations which are independent. Now, when we do that, we need to add some sinks, we need to add waste bins. Now, we are required, the staff, if they're using hand gloves, they have to change after each operation. If they're using a pot or pan, they have to wash it after each operation. Things which are not being washed, are not being used much, they in any case have to be washed in 30 minutes. So you need to provide. Now, So you cannot have somebody crossing over to a hand sink. So you need multiple sinks. They need to be added. This all depends on the layouts and all need to be added. And at the same time, there will be another problem that when you cut down on staff, because you have a certain square feet, there is a advisory from FSSAI again that you can have only 3 persons in 10 feet. And now when you do things like that, you may need different kind of equipment. You will need equipment which is versatile, which can do more work because you have less people in the kitchen. Though you have less staff and you have menus which have been shortened, but you still will need to change some equipment or get, or alternative will be to remove the items from your menu. So there will be changes.
So Sunil, this
Great, thank you
essentially
so
means,
much.
I just have a small point there. This
Yes,
essentially means that we have to rediscipline ourselves. And there has to be a lot of redisciplining which happens at the back end with the restaurant owners, with the staff who are working. And, you know, what we have been used to over the years, the way of working has to totally change. And it is going to be a large shift in the thought process of how a restaurant is run from the side of the restaurant owners, as well as the behavioral patterns of the people who are going to visit the restaurant. So that's going to be a huge challenge for the
correct.
Yeah.
Indian community. And I'm sure as time passes, we will be able to, you know, get used to this, but it is going to be a challenge for sure.
Well, Mr. Ashwin, let's talk about from the interior designer point of view. And I want to come back and tell you that what is it that you are thinking will happen, say for the a group seating coming in? How can we have a divider or a partition if people are coming in a bit of a group? The whole point of coming to a restaurant is also to socialize. Maybe the guidelines says 5 people can be together, 7 people can be together.
Exactly.
What is it that one of you can tell us that how can we divide the spaces? What can
I think there will be a distinct challenge there, because if let's say I assume if I'm going with my family and there are 12 people in my family, my parents are there, my in-laws are there, and we are going for a
got it.
celebration.
Huh.
Now you actually can't expect my entire family to be sitting on different tables just because you have a jurisdiction or you have a rule that says only 5 people can sit at the
No,
table. It
those are
defeats the
government
entire
rules. Those are government rules.
exactly. So it defeats the entire purpose. If I'm going with my family for a celebration, and if 12 people we want to sit at a table and have a good time, and if we have to sit at different tables, it doesn't work. So there are a lot of challenges at that level, which sometimes we will have to uh, uh, rework on the sanitization part of it, but we may not be able to implement these rules which say that there has to be social distancing. If 12 people want to have dinner together, they have to have dinner together.
Okay,
You can't tell
Mr.
them you sit at different tables because
Got
there is
it,
a
got it. So I'm saying that let us say if there is that challenge and we need to give a solution. So my solution or my take on that is that there are available dividers and partitions which are temporary, which can be constructed in between. All that you have to see is that they are cleanable, sanitizable, washable, and we have certain ideas. So people who are watching this, all the attendees, please wait till the end. We have a surprise for you. We will be able to share something that will really help you with the response. So now coming back to other questions, that what do we do, Satyajit? I do not see Pratik here, but what can we do for the pre-entrance area, or how do you think that the entrance will happen, meeting will happen before people enter restaurants?
I think that's physical distancing rule has to apply everywhere, not just inside, also outside, because you're sort of bringing people in from there. I think you'll have to sort of devise a system before you sort of get into the deco part of it, that like how you know, sort of take the reservations, make sure that like you follow that. And I think right from outside to the entry, you'll have to sort of take care of that. And for the restaurants which are already sort of, I mean, like the new restaurants which are coming up, I mean, what they probably can look into the kind of materials they want to use. I mean, like where if there is some, say, excessive fabric that has been used, or, you know, the surfaces which have got like deeper textures or hard to clean, you know, such surfaces probably need to be avoided or remodified for a part, like for the time being, so that at least you're making sure that you're creating the spaces which are at least easily maintainable. Going back to the previous point where the large group sort of dining, I mean, it defeats the purpose if you're going to break them into the parts and not going to have a group sitting. Maybe you'll have to come up with some sort of a way, or maybe like home delivery or that kind of a things you'll have to work out for the larger groups, because it's a situation that you'll have to sort of deal with for a certain period of time until we sort of come up with some solution for the COVID-19 itself. Like, otherwise till then you'll have to follow what you have been doing. Like, it's going to come more from the doctors, like what sort of precautions that one will have to take in terms of number of people coming together. Because another thing that's also with the AC restaurants is the air that is getting circulated. I mean, I was talking to a doctor yesterday, and like the ventilators aren't really helping the COVID-19 patients, which is the present fact. So when you're putting the bunch of people together in an AC environment where there is not great deal of air, external air which is entering, or the same air getting circulated, you'll have to sort of take into consideration a lot of other factors, not just the physical distancing or I mean, apart from physical distancing and cleaning the surfaces and making them virus proof.
Thank you, Satyajit. So, according to me, one restaurateur especially needs to make a pre-opening checklist, and he can probably divide that into 4 large areas. One is about the interiors, about planning the space itself, which is the dining area. Second is replanning their kitchens, because now they would probably have a narrowed menu. They can rework their the equipment's placement itself without disturbing too much. They need to create a special dedicated area, but also look at how they can bring down the costing of the fixed cost of ventilation, fresh air, exhaust, electricity, by planning areas in a way that they have already have an existing layout. So for an example, for a seating area, if you have an air conditioning duct coming in, you have to see where are the ducts getting distributed, which zones, which AC can you switch off. If you have a double duct, you have a double air conditioning AHUs, you can switch off one zone and probably keep the other zone, and obviously you have to keep the distancing in mind. And the same thing can be done with the fresh air circulation. You can put in an extra fresh air and an exhaust, and you can use your MEP consultant to be able to circulate it faster. You can even add an UV light fitting inside where your AHU is, so that the filter catches those microbes and are sanitized. And you have to reschedule your cleaning of filter that you do. So that means if you were doing once in 2 months or once in 3 months, you might have to do it more frequently. And as I was saying, that you could divide this into 4 areas. So as replan your seating, replan your kitchen, install branding and communication, so that we all put it, everything that you're doing has to be communicated to your customer, and that's very important for them to feel safe. And also then use products of hygiene. These are the 4 main steps for reopening that we feel that every restaurateur should keep in mind. Coming back to questions to Sharad, what do you say that we do to declutter our restaurant, or what kind of furniture or what kind of elements do we use so that we are able to keep the place frequently clean and hygiene? What do you suggest?
Right. So there's going to be a substantial shift in the way we address our interior planning. Now, something that can be done is that we can raise the dividing partitions in between the sitting to increase our norms of social or physical distancing, so that people do not have a direct air transfer from somebody sneezing from one booth to another, one area to another. Of course, the spacing of the tables will have to be increased, but existing restaurateurs hardly have any. I have one thing to add to the ventilation part of things is that if you have an existing AHU dealing with your air handling, then you can actually add chemical filters to it, to the existing AHU, to sanitize the air you are delivering out. So that's one area you can address. One more important thing is that you have to reduce the velocity actually on your air conditioning outputs, because what happens is that excess velocity in your air conditioning takes aerosol particles from one area and transfers them to another. So we will be having to look at more planar flows on your air conditioning. And just one more thing I'd like to add to the entrance part, wherein we are going to maintain physical distancing during entrance. So while working with a couple of hospitality consultants on this model, we felt that digital coordination with the customer as to when he is going to arrive and what he is going to do, plus interaction with them, like suppose he has already had a COVID test, then please give him a discount, and reduce the contact point between the service and the guest. That's another area which the guest is going to feel very comfortable with.
Right.
One
So
area regarding group sitting. So you can,
yes.
can you hear me, or is the connection
Yeah,
not?
we can hear you. Go on, go on.
Right. So regarding group sitting, there was a very interesting take on the group sitting part. So of course we can't isolate the group from within the group, right? That doesn't make sense. But we can do something about folding partitions, sliding partitions, which can segregate the entire group from the rest of it. So that's an area which can be looked on from case to case basis. We also have some other thoughts on having a remote monitoring of tables, wherein the waiter is really not moving around you to monitor service to your table. And some people are already using digital call bells to call waiters. The same can be done from your mobile app as well. So you can partake of your mobile app with your customer, get him onto your app, and then he can call the waiter directly on his app instead of trying to physically get his attention. And the waiter can be well segregated from the guest till the time that happens. So these are all models that we are working on. Of course, you need sanitization at the front of the house. You need waiters to wear gloves, which are going to be discarded after every guest. You need to have disinfecting protocols for the crockery which is coming from the guest. And back of the house, of course, Sunil is in a better position to cover back of the house more than anybody else. But of course, the space standards for kitchens will have to change big time. And so will our way of operations back of the house. So that's a clear indication of what's happening.
Great, thank you so much. So coming
Hello.
back
Yeah.
again about the restaurant planning and designing, what do you think what kind of products one can use? There are so many products available in the market. Is there
Right.
something that Satya or Sunilji or anybody here has thought of, that these are the products that one must use for restaurateurs, which are absolutely at a lower cost and should not be very expensive? What is your suggestion for the restaurateurs to pre-open?
Yeah.
See, for pre-opening,
Can I add on that, or okay?
yeah,
Let
yeah, Sharad.
Sunilji finish, and then Sharad will
Yes.
get
Yes.
back to you.
Okay.
Okay. So for the opening, I don't think any owners will like to add equipment because they're falling short of space because of social distancing. They will only go for compliances. So for compliances, it's going to be employee health and basically and avoiding surface contact. So these are the two things which will be done. So addition will be items like thermal scanners, uh, sanitizers, and face shields, PPE, uh, bed improved storage. And now, what happens in cooking is that now in the way to handle to create safe food is that you need cleaning, you need segregation, you need cooking, and you need chilling. These four are the basics of cooking. Whatever is missing in a restaurant will have to be added. We can't say item A or item B, item C should be added. They will have to see what they don't have. Now, if they don't have a device to ensure cooking is done to the correct temperatures or correct thawing, they will have to add that. If they do not have, if currently they cook food and place hot food inside a refrigerator, and which is unsafe, they will need quick cooling devices like blast freezers, blast chillers, depending on their application. So they will need corrections. And if they do not have equipment, they will have to make do with menu adjustments. But
Right.
to say that, you could use these items will be difficult. However, if any of our participants here requires a recommendation on a particular aspect, there are many alternatives available, and I can share easily because we have all the data, what is available. But the main thing is, what do they want? Because they have to analyze their need. So for example, but like to go back to what Sharad was, what Ashwin had mentioned earlier, that what difference will be there in back of the house. The main difference to defeat the disease is change of mindset of the owner and the staff. That is what is needed. We don't have a mindset as of now. We didn't have it. This is an opportunity. With this big problem, we can change the mindset and have people understand what they need to do to ensure safety of their own selves as well as the guest.
Great. So you're saying that whatever a designer does to the space, finally it all boils down to how the food handlers, how the waiters, how the staff is handling from the time that they receive the goods, or even before that, and then the way it is served. So I
The
see a
people
lot
as
of
well, and the
people
people
saying
as
that
well.
technology will be.
Assuming that kitchen has been designed well and explained well, and the operators were involved. So
Right.
after that, it's all about operations. Yes.
Right, right. No, so we are talking about obviously only existing restaurants. So we are assuming that their kitchens have
They
been.
are not perfect. Like I said,
Yeah,
they need
yeah, I'm
correction.
sure. We are
They need
assuming
correction.
that we are assuming that the kitchens may need a lot of work in terms of putting all these various aspects of health and wellness together, and
They they
there
have
will be
they
pointers
have
available
yeah,
from.
they have to make contactless operation in both
Absolutely,
viewers.
absolutely,
So in
and
I
and
FY,
have a small intervention to make, Sunil. Looking at the present scenario and the financial situation of a majority of the restaurants that we are talking of, do you think it's going to be a practical decision to be making the kind of suggestions that you are suggesting, to make the kind of changes that you are suggesting? People are going to be having a tough time getting back into the business, and when we look at the kind of suggestions you are making at the back end, um, do we really, if we think of it from a at a realistic perspective, what do you think? Is it
I
feasible to make
I
this kind
I
of
got it.
have
changes?
Go on, Mr. Sunil. Answer
yeah
him, please.
yeah
Hmm.
I know see, I know that for dine-in restaurants, the additional capex budget is nil for the next 4, 5, 6 quarters. So nobody can spend money.
Yeah,
They will they all the restaurateurs are saying they're struggling with paying salaries and wages and paying electricity and the mall rental. So they have no plans for capex. So there will be no capex, but you have to go for compliances. So that is, so for making everything contactless, you have to go for the cheapest solutions, and which will not involve too much capex, but it will be done. That
yeah.
is mandatory. Otherwise, you can't open.
For the
This is for
benefit
dining,
of the
but
restaurateurs who are
delivery
listening,
restaurants may will have some capex.
yeah.
Okay,
So
so coming back to what we've been discussing, uh, all the attendees, whoever have any kind of a request or a detailed requirement, please put in your website ID, or please put in your email ID, and also let us know who you want that question to be answered, and we will get that person to reply to you separately, and if possible, answer here as much as we can. So coming back to, and I want to keep this discussion limited to from a restaurant's point of view, as to helping and assisting restaurateurs open up their spaces, and only we are talking about only existing restaurants. My one of the other question is that we were talking about, do we declutter, do we not? Obviously the answer is yes, we declutter. We also do not use too much of foliage, too much of greenery, because then it will be difficult to clean it and sanitize it. Yes, there are enough products available. We will get into what are the products that you can use, And at the end of the presentation, we will share with people who are interested and are leaving their email IDs in the chat box. We will send you a presentation of the products that you can use. It will be a form of a DIY kit. If you have a simple outlet that you want to do and you do not want to spend, and somebody who wants to, get to know more of how he can save costs and what they can do, even that information is available, and you can contact any of us here. Please let us know who you want that kind of an answer or that kind of a solution to be provided. One of the questions that I'm asking is that none of us know when the restaurants open, or none of us know that when the vaccine will be out. But do you think that these changes that we are suggesting to the restaurateurs, is it going to be there for 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, or is it going to be the way of life? Is it going to be the new normal? What is your take on it, Satyajit?
Hello, Satyajit.
Hello.
Satyajit,
Yeah.
your
Hi.
volume, yeah, you're on mute, yeah. You're on mute, Satyajit.
Hello.
Can I?
Yeah. Again, mute.
Yeah, better.
I don't know. It's going on mute by itself.
Yeah.
Asha, okay.
No,
Yeah.
good.
I mean, there was a network issue. Can you please repeat the question again?
So, what do you think is whatever changes we are suggesting? Is it going to be like a permanent way of life for restaurateurs, or do you think it's a temporary thing? What is your take on this? And would you, if you were a restaurateur, would you do it temporarily, or can you give them solutions for what could be permanent and what could be temporary?
In my opinion, I think it's certainly going to be temporary, because it's just going to be the matter of time that we either develop the cure for the pandemic, or we develop our immunity for the same, because life is going to get back to the normal. Of course, we don't know how long it's going to take, but maybe like few months. But I think down the line, things going to fall in place, and it's just going to go back to the way it was. So whatever changes which are anyway meant to be temporary, I think need to be done looking in the similar way, like not spending a lot of money on it, and still sort of something which can be coherent with the decor that has already existing in the restaurant. So yeah, I think it's going to be temporary, and that's how it should be looked at, in my opinion.
Okay. My opinion is slightly different. I think there will be few things which will be permanent and which will be the new way of life, the new way of socializing, the new way of dining. And of course, there will be some parts of it which you may not want permanent. Like, for example, that there would be hygiene, sanitization. When you enter, there would be thermal screening happening, like the way you have metal detection screens before you enter a mall or a public space, you will have the same as thermal detection for some time. The sanitization will be there. The BOH will obviously need the upgradation, which Sunilji has been suggesting, that there has to be an
I
upgrade
have some more recommendations I'll
of
give you.
hygiene. Yeah, we'll come to that. And importantly is, yes, there would be some parts which will be temporary. So we, as I said, that we found those products which will be temporary, and there will be products, and that is where you should invest the least. But then there will be products which will be required, and you should invest and uh, think about the longevity of that product and look at it from the right specs, the right quality of that product to be bought. The next question, which we are 45 minutes down, and I wanted to ask that if you were to imagine the future of the restaurant, and every panelist can answer this, what do you think will be the future of the restaurant designing? And you could also answer or take one this, that say, for example, will QSR be very different? Will fine dine be more different? Will casual be very different? What about the nightclubs? What about cafeterias? What about places where people are visiting, like food courts, or even cinema halls where they are coming out to eat in a group? What do you think will it look like? How will it change from a designer point of view?
Can I?
Yes,
Yep.
anybody can start.
Yeah, so I think it will take a bit of time for people to get back into the routine. It has to be, as I was earlier saying, there will have to be, it will take time for the whole idea to set in, for us to be, for us to be able to think of going to restaurants once again. But I think once it starts off, there's going to be no stopping it. And then of course there would be different segments which would probably start earlier on. The casual restaurants would be probably the first ones to start off, followed by fine dine, etc. The
Ashwin,
ones which
I'm
are
asking you about the future of design. I mean, I'm asking you from a designer's point of view, of
from
not
a
when.
designer's point of view. I think new restaurants may not come up that easily. It's going to take time. And the ones which have already been designed, the ones which have already been made, if there are any kind of temporary changes to it, that would happen first. I don't think anybody would be venturing out to have new restaurants coming in at least for the next 6 months. So it's I think it's going to be a tough game for
So
those who
again,
are.
Ashwin, I would like to interrupt. I'm not talking about 6 months. I'm not giving you a timeline. I'm asking you to wear a designer's hat and tell me if there's some permanent change that you see, or what do you
No,
visualize?
no, I
And
don't
you,
see a permanent change
okay,
happening. It's going
all
to be
right,
only
great.
temporary.
Great, great. What about you, Britta? What do you think is, you can talk about the hospitality sector, just not restaurants. What do you think will the new future of design look like?
I think it's now really becoming very important how, in the immediate effect, how you make people feel, that they really are open to come and are not scared anymore and have no blockage. So how you make them feel good in your restaurant along with the experience, that you sell experience. This is the reason why they are coming at all, and leaving their safe place home and going to the restaurant. So for example, let's say you could have cocoons which make you feel mentally at least more safe. And also, of course, it helps because along with all this social distancing, that bigger
Great.
distance from one table to the other, but just like a cocoon, which makes you feel more safe already.
So basically, restaurants will be quite, there will be various groups being formed, and they will not be interacting with each other. Is what you're saying will happen? Then the nightclubs will die because there is no way that they will survive. You go there for the energy, you go there for the rush, you go there to see everybody else socializing. So you think that nightclubs are not going to be something that people would go to? You're
In the
muted.
long run, definitely. But the immediate thing, immediately, maybe they are not going to
Yeah,
go
agree,
to
agree.
just for going to have dinner. I think this would make you feel better
Right,
right now.
right, right. What
Of
about
course,
you?
maybe a group, no? Group
Yeah.
dining, I think this is all okay. A family, like earlier somebody said, 5, 8 people. I mean, how can they not allow a family to eat together? But
Exactly.
the physical distancing to the neighbor, this should be taken care of.
All right, Amit, what about you? What do you think is the future of design?
Like the future of design, which you're discussing, is a short-term, I think, exercise which you're discussing.
Okay.
So to get the restaurants open again in the next 6 months or 1 year. So of course the distancing. So there are two things. Like one is of course what is happening in back of house, which Sunil and other people were speaking about. But in front of house, where you actually see, so perception is everything. Like Britta was speaking about cocoon. Another thing is if you have a restaurant which has more height, we should remember that we're speaking about a space in Z also. We can do some space packing exercise and use the height of the restaurant also, because it's very difficult to, I think, sustain a restaurant with 60 people capacity to run at 20 or 30 people. Maybe it's not feasible for them anymore. So as architects, we should not just restrict to X, but also look at the volume of the space and try to see if we can do space filling exercise to utilize the space smartly and try to fit as many people as possible, following the parameters which have been given to us.
Okay. Sharad, what about you? What do you think is the future of design?
Future of design, well, definitely some of these measures will become the new norm for the industry. because I don't know whether you've been tracking the coronavirus progress, but it seems that
Italy has found
there may not be a standard vaccine for this thing. And we may have resurgent cases coming on in the future, which may dog this industry in the future. So what happens, we have to kind of plan for this. For sure, there is a viability problem for all the restaurateurs. I think a new space norm will come through, space viability norm will come through. Eventually, it will take a little time, but space viability norm will come through, wherein how much space is relevant to make a good business plan will ultimately come through. And for sure that compliance with sanitization processes will be the new norm for the industry to come, at least for the coming 18 months. So if you want your brand to survive for the next 18 months in the public eye, I don't think there's much choice but to do these things that we are talking about.
Yeah, and if you want the customers to walk in, there's no choice. You'll have to do it, or you may as well as not open. So that checklist that we are talking about, or we are talking about what I am calling it as the wellness-oriented design. You need to have it in place. You need to have a task force within your team which is looking after this. Only if the customers feel safe are they going to come in. If they're not going to understand what you're trying to do, both inside in your dining space and in your outside, in the BOH space or the kitchen space, they will not be comfortable. And it's a word of mouth. As your regular patrons are used to you, they come to you and they have liked you for so long, they will keep coming back to you. But you need to communicate, you need to call out what you're doing, and be able to tell these customers that it is safe, they are following these norms and guidelines to the T, and they can come back and feel good about it. One wrong messaging, one wrong communication can shut down the entire industry.
So I'll give you the changes which I foresee in back of the house.
Great.
One is the kitchens will be definitely more hygienic. And in order to make them more hygienic, we'll need more space for the receiving area, and we'll need more space for storage. And it will not be possible because of rentals. So I see better utilization of height, which we haven't done in India, which is done in the US. So we'll be using kitchens which are going vertical, which could have happened here 10, 15 years ago, but that it's a little more expensive to set up. So we'll see in the same space, create more square feet. And since buffets will reduce, there will be more areas for plating. Since a lot of washing is needed, there will be more hot water. Currently, it's seriously compromised in MEP work. There will be a lot of emphasis on the digital equipment in front of the house, and ordering and payments, everything will be wireless, and you can order from your app. And all this has been happening in US or other countries since a long time, and we will do. Since we are required to wash pots and pans more, the part stock will rise. Since we're short of space, we'll have prep in a separate shift and plan the kitchen like that, because we will have to maintain social distancing for a long time, and because it will take a few years for us to get back to normal. So we will, in terms of layout, in front of the house and back of the house, we will do more of in and out, which we have been doing only in few places. So you go in a line, you don't cross each other. So these are the kind of changes, and the list is endless, but just to give an idea of what will happen.
I think for the front of the house, I feel that we'll have to design. I mean, if you're talking about the way the future of design would be, especially for restaurants, I think you'll have to work around keeping in a lot of flexibility in terms of the way furniture is going to lay it out and everything. So in a way, you're preparing a plan B, which is going to be when things get back to normal and your restaurant can again, work at the same capacity what it is meant to be. So I think that's how probably you'll have to work around keeping a lot of flexibility in place to accommodate new changes, which is going to be which is difficult for now. Nobody saw this coming. So in most of the present restaurant, it's not. So barring few, but like wherever there's a lot of loose furniture, you can still like, reduce the number of tables and still can work around the same. But in new restaurant, I think it's going to be more about creating the flexibility through design. That is one we'll have to keep it in mind.
Okay, great. So we're missing Pratik Chaudhary from Dubai. His take would have been very interesting. So my take on this is that yes, the design, the future of design is slightly different than what we have today. It's not that people will stop socializing. It's not that restaurants won't open. It's not that restaurants won't expand, but they will look slightly different. I think they will be more minimalistic. Space will be a luxury. They won't be packed like the way they are packed like sardines today. Customers will have more space to enjoy. There'll be a lot of more outdoor spaces. I think the government will also bring rules where every space has to have some outdoor space where people can spread out, and a lot of governments are now doing this to help the restaurateurs. If you've reduced the seating, then increase the space so that you can have more seating. Now, what I'm saying is minimalism will be one, space will be the second. There will be a lot of innovative products and products that will be finishes which will be antimicrobial. There will be paints. There will be already available materials. You will use a lot of copper because they don't attack microbes. So there will be a great shift towards hygiene, but nothing is going away. Everything is going to come back. Restaurants will right now probably survive, but then will soon thrive because I think the expansions are not 6 months away. I've spoken to some of my clients, and they're all looking at using this time to sharpen their axe, work on their products, innovate a lot, like we all should, and then and up their game, like up their experiential what they're providing to their customers, and still open up. They will use this time that the real estate is less to lock in the deals, get the right rentals, and will open up. So thinking that that 6 months, 1 year, nothing is happening. Things are going to happen, but yes, at a very, very slow pace as compared to earlier. People are right now strapped for obviously the sales not happening, money not coming in. A lot of restaurants cannot survive, but the ones that will survive will actually get the larger pie. The customers that will go to the ones that are taking care of all these steps that we have been talking about. I think this is the way forward.
One more thing I'd like to add to the future of design, at least.
Yes,
I
sir.
foresee that restaurants are going to increasingly have standalone buildings for themselves. And I also see a great increase in the number of al fresco restaurants, which may be laid out in gardens, or obviously there will be restrictions on how they function in monsoon. But I think there is a great future for al fresco restaurants in the coming few months.
Great. Satyajit, a lot of work coming your way because only the spaces are available only in Pune, nowhere else.
Exactly.
So yeah, I think Bombay people will have to shift to these smaller towns and find al fresco restaurants.
Yeah,
okay, so I'm going to now take Q&A.
Not to practice design.
Yeah.
Actually, I just before this webinar, I had a call for a restaurant design. So
wonderful.
Mr. Ashwin, feel that restaurants are not going to open. I think they're going to open for sure. They will change the way they open. Restaurant owners are very innovative. They think on their feet. They're fast moving. They will come up with ideas and thoughts to how to take the experience for their customers and guests to a next level.
Yeah, they will open, but of course,
and we all are part of their journey. We all have to think, I have a list of products which are very innovative, from a shoe sanitizing mat to a contactless hand sanitizer, which has a digital signage. That means you are communicating immediately at the pre-entrance that what is happening. So there are enough technology available, enough products available which do not cost too much, which can be used, and will make people feel safer again. Will make the guests feel safer again to go back. And as and when they open, I think we will all be there to assist them. And at this point of time, all of us should stop looking at how we can increase our business, more about assisting restaurateurs and giving giving.
Support.
If this is a time to give.
Yes.
I'm taking questions now. There is Sanjay Kumar, I think, asking how the restaurant layout tentatively will look like post COVID. I think we've answered this, but
I can add.
yes, please add.
See, layout, I did mention what changes will happen. And I read somebody commenting that footprint will be larger. But I would like to say that all equipment will be calibrated. So whatever you have in your layout, you will know exactly what it will do in terms of temperature, hot or cold. Now that is required. And also there will be all processes, like if you have a pot wash, like you may use a lot of, for washing, more and more dishwashers, pot washers will be used, and like bottle washers. So because washing requires a certain, has a certain requirement. You cannot just wash with water and detergent and think the germs are gone. You need temperature. And that cannot happen in manual washing. And then you need air drying. So these are some of the things which will appear in the layouts. Layout we had discussed. So basically calibration and a lot of measuring instruments.
Great.
And like you buy equipment which is calibrated, and then you recalibrate time to time, like you do in a normal food processing factory.
So that's from the BOH point of view. From the FOH point of view, Sharad, what do you think that will happen to the layout?
Well, layouts will definitely be, I think the footprint of the front of the house will have to increase. Very interesting point coming from one of our panelists. Layouts will be more flexible. So we will find more and more restaurants which have got open space in the center of the restaurants, because that's the area where you can add or join or move tables and reduce the capacity, increase the capacity, and so on and so forth. I'm foreseeing a reduction.
Yes. Will not be there.
Yes. I'm also foreseeing a reduction in the number of fixed inputs going into a restaurant. So two things are going to happen is that we want to reduce capex, which we have to leave in the outlet. Because when we move on from our rentals, we want to take our capex with us. And increasingly so in a time where, in tough times like this. So we will see a bigger emphasis on loose furniture rather than fixed furniture, on cheaper finishes on the walls, which are bio-friendly. There are bio-friendly wallpapers available. There are bio-friendly surfaces available for tabletops, which you can sanitize easily. You will see a change in the way things are sanitized. There are going to be a lot of easy clean surfaces. We'll have to shift from fabric to more easily cleanable surfaces, and that will become the new norm as well. Lesser textures, plainer surfaces. These are all things that we foresee in the front of the house. And of course, the way we change our ventilation system.
Sharad, very good points. Very, very interesting what you're saying. I think these are all the things that we've also been thinking of. And as we have been talking about antimicrobial surfaces, you've got sprays that if you have an existing fabric or existing upholstery, there are sprays available that will give a coating of antimicrobial, which you can use and then keep cleaning that same space with your alcohol wipes. So that's a great point. What else can somebody do? So let me go to another question. I think you've answered about the layouts, so you've answered about the products. But yes, for me, layouts will have a bigger pre-entrance. Like before you enter the space, there will be some space dedicated to understanding or thermal screening, isolation, maybe booths. There would be all the restaurants will have on their immediate calling some medical help available if required, and of course training your staff on how to handle cases of medical emergency will be the new norm. Coming back,
so only one small thing can I add here.
Yes.
One area which we haven't discussed really is the washrooms. Now, this is a real crunch area for any restaurant or hospitality unit.
Right. Great
so
point.
I foresee a lot of automation coming into the washroom area.
Completely.
Automated flushes for your pot. Urinal sensors are already there. You don't need to reinvent. Hand wash hand wash areas will have to have sensors anyway, and
So there
a
are
small degree of
adapters available to put onto your own existing faucets. You will get
uh,
adapters which will make your faucets sensomatic now. So that's one thing.
sensomatic, and also it's equally cheap to change the faucet itself and change it to a sensor faucet. It's
Right.
not alarmingly expensive.
Right.
And a small amount of automation, a lot of hands-free doors. I think doors to the main entrance of the restaurant will be hands-free. We'll have to try to make the washroom doors hands-free. Now that's a bigger
In
challenge.
fact, the entry to the washroom will be doorless now. So you have
Doorless,
to plan it in a way or which have already been planned. They have to be doorless. Of course, you will need to use your shoulders instead of your,
yeah,
handles. So
or your
those
elbow.
handles I was
Yeah,
talking about are available for, especially for these doors, right?
correct.
Right. And
So
so there was another question. What should the menu be curated post-COVID? Now, this is a restaurateur's answer. We can't answer this, but the only thing that we can say that all the discovery, all the menu, everything will be on your phone now. And whatever is happening in the kitchen, you would be able to see on the phone. Or maybe they will put up screens if they do not have an open kitchen. Open kitchen will be the new norm. But if they do not have an open kitchen, you will have cameras inside the kitchen which will be displayed on your phone or your screen because every customer would need to see it. I do not know if this is going to be forever. Going to be forever is a great practice because there is drama involved in the cooking, so you'd enjoy if there is the cooking is happening, and also then you see how hygienic and how easily your food is being prepared and coming to you without too much of contact. Of course, there will be trolleys now to serve you because they do not want. McDonald's is doing this in Amsterdam. They're not touching the food. They're getting the trolleys. They're not wanting you to come to the POS counter also. They're saying that order on your phone. The order will be placed. You please go and be seated. The trolleys will come with your order in it. So that's how McDonald's is trying, and they are the trendsetters in this space. So it will be a good idea to follow what they're doing. Uh, any other question? I'm going through those questions. From Kolkata, Parimal is writing. I've heard very clearly that dining restaurants in Dubai, UAE can open only with 30% capacity. What do you think will be the rule in India? Very hard to predict, but only Sunilji would know. What is the rule going to be in India, Sunilji?
It will be 50%.
50%, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so 50% also, I mean, there are ways to plan this 50%. I mean, you can have a pre-order of the table. You can even order the menu. You can go there. You can decide what groups are there. There will be badges. There's Arogya Setu app that they will let you in. So there will be various monitors, and I don't think they will be able to stop, or they will soon come up with ways that people can really go out in groups. But of course, there will be groups for now, and then the groups will not be. You will have
Looking at yesterday's
batches.
picture, I hope the bars don't open at 130%, 130% of the
so
capacity.
so what I am
They need to
foreseeing
open
is
so that the distribution of wealth and people happens.
so what I am foreseeing is in terms of this area is that once we open with 50% capacity, there's going to be close digital coordination with your customer to make the best use of this. So you know that you can throw out one cover in 1 hour, for example, and you know your restaurant capacity. Then you would be giving out X number of reservations digitally and getting them to arrive at a particular time, and maybe telling them that the
And
time is
also
up.
minimum billing per table would be
Yes,
applicable
yes.
with 50% because they need to recover the
Yeah,
cost. I understand and I totally appreciate that this should happen.
this also solves the problem of social distancing
Yes,
automatically.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
pre-book
then,
online is a time slot, no?
Sorry, Britta, go on.
Pre-book online exactly the time slot, so there's no queuing or anything like that.
Absolutely.
No,
Absolutely. So
Sunil,
technology will play a big part besides what the designers can help. And so Manthan is talking about antimicrobial levers, and he's got a company there. It is any other questions? Ideal materials for tabletops and furniture surface.
So there are plenty of these already available
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
market.
On which ones?
A simple example is DuPont Korean. It's available in many thicknesses. It's completely bio-friendly. You can
You're suggesting a
sanitize it.
very expensive material. Can you suggest another
Yes,
material?
stones are there. There are different kinds of stones, artificial stones available, which are very easy to clean. Then there are tiles, big size tiles, which are thin. Laminam, for example, that's one of the brand names.
Yeah.
So there are a majority of these materials available in the market, which are very easy to maintain, very easy to clean. They don't gather microbes that easily, and they're just wipe clean. So rather than using materials which are very soft, let's say fabric or fabric based material, we will have to go in for hard surfaces. Though hard surfaces have their own problems, there is a problem of sound echoing, and it doesn't absorb the sound. So many times we have this issue in the restaurants that the sound echoes a lot. But we will have to use surfaces which are very easy to clean. That is going to be the main challenge. So yeah, we've done a lot
Right.
of restaurants and seen
Uh,
wonderful.
so, so what everybody's saying is there will be lots of materials, but a couple of things one needs to keep in mind, that they should be simple and straight edges. There should not be any crevices or anything that will attract. And why is this? Because you need to clean the surface after every use. That means if one person sits there or a group sits there, after they leave, the whole place has to be sanitized at least for the next 18 months or till the time we find a cure. But that needs to happen. So so I think in terms of the answering his question is, there can be expensive materials, there can be cheaper materials, but whatever you use, please keep it straight, clean edged, without any detailing where there are joints and crevices which will attract and it will be difficult to clean.
Non-porous.
Seamless also.
Non-porous and non-grooves, no grooves at all.
Seamless.
What else is the question? The existing restaurants will not be able to absorb these changes, not only due to capex, but it is also survival, even reducing PAX.
Exactly. That's what Neeraj
till
was
a
saying.
certain level will not be feasible. Yes, we completely agree, and that's why we have a DIY kit where whether you are able to absorb or not, there will be some expenses that will happen to bring in both products and training to your staff, and certain changes in your layouts of both the kitchen. You will need to do it if you want customers coming back. So it's a difficult situation, we understand, but we have to accept that there will be changes, and you need to incorporate, you need to prepare, or you will not be able to attract, or the customer will not feel safe. If the customer is not feeling safe, they're not coming back to your restaurant unless you have a model which you can change. You can make it a more delivery based model and all of that, but it's not easy, it's not profitable to convert your existing restaurant into just a delivery model. There are various issues. We've been hearing it from NRAI about how it's a myth to say that I will convert my restaurant into, and delivery models will do well coming ahead, but you can't change it just like that. You'll have to have the right product for that. Jitendra is asking for the materials. Yes, everyone, I will send you all the details. I have a catalog of the products. Please leave all your email IDs. Those products with the pricing, everything is available for materials that you can use for reopening your restaurant. And how about for cafe concepts? Does anybody have a say on this cafe concept?
Now, cafe normally would mean a small restaurant with food, because otherwise I would call it coffee bar. So I don't know whether they're talking about coffee bar or they're talking about cafe, but I would say
let's
both
say a
of them.
cafe lounge, like for example, Costa Coffee or a Starbucks.
So Costa Coffee will do well because they have a lot of takeaway, and depending on location. So there is a scope. There is a scope for anything which is takeaway, which is you just buy and go away, because there's minimum chances of contamination. So that will do well.
And unlike fine dining,
dine-in you will be more expensive.
Yeah, because you tend to spend more time there. So like cafes is where like
No,
even the amount of
dining, the prices will also go up.
Yeah. And like in the smaller sort of cafes where like, as you rightly said, like there are a lot of takeaways. At the same time, you don't tend to like spend a lot of time there. It's always about a quick bite. So I think places like that will certainly do much better than the fine dine.
Yeah, so cafes, it's simpler because
there is a plus point there. They use more disposables.
Right.
So in the future trend, we'll also have a lot of use and throw inside the kitchen. The menus will be use and throw a lot. Menus, and even in good restaurants, but back of the house also we'll have use and throw.
Yeah.
Right, and I can't stress the importance to people who are listening on getting your, maybe if possible, a branding agency or your designer to put innovative signage and communication outside, that means near the entrance, inside your restaurant, and some mandatory signages to display the kind of hygiene, sanitization you can maintain. And please do not make it very serious atmosphere. Use some innovative ideas, like if say for example everybody has to wear a mask, you can create a very stylish mask with something written on it, so that a customer looks at you and gets a smile, right? They obviously cannot look at you smiling, so all they can see is your eyes. So those masks will be interesting. People sitting across, POS counters, you can have a simple barrier curtain which is made out of a vinyl transparent sheet. It doesn't cost you more than few thousand rupees, and that will it's like a sneeze guard. And the same thing you can do with plexiglasses. So there are enough innovative products that we are designing, are available, that we are thinking that these are the cheaper methods that can be done. And we are putting it in a catalog. The catalog is getting revised on a every third day basis, that we can add this product, we can add that product, or this is a product that we think is working. So and we've seen enough queries and inquiries coming for those products, and I think it will be used. And I've seen maximum happening for shoe sanitizer. Who thought that shoe sanitizer would be such an important thing? We're looking at air curtains, spraying machines, air curtains having sanitizing. As soon as you open the door, the air curtain sanitization happens. Euronics is another company which is doing great innovation in the products, so contactless washroom areas and stuff like that. So yes, even that. And then there are there are various brands, and there are various products that are available. Some are quite economical and some are expensive. Of course, you can't escape thermal screening. I think the government will put down a guideline for thermal screening for sure, because I think that's one thing that they are dependent on, knowing where the people who are carrying these symptoms. So that's important. Somebody written that they are ready to supply robots to restaurants. Thank you, Karthik. That would be a great help, but I do not know how many restaurants can afford that, but I'm sure some of the clubs, the restaurants will be able to afford that. Please send the list of materials. We will. There are more questions. Thanks to Ellen Pro Refrigeration is here. Okay.
And there is a question from
everybody's asking about a checklist of do's and don'ts, and what are the changes required.
We will send
it to you. We will all together compile a list, all these architects, and this is the time we want to share with restaurateurs everything that we know, we've learned, we are planning all the innovations. We will put it all together in one presentation and send it to you. And of course, HCS Global will be more than happy to clear any other doubts, or will get back to us if there is anything that they require us to give them.
There is a question from Chinmay Reggae from HCS, and me and to Amit. Do you see any guideline changes happening in space allocation on hotel design manuals in the coming time? My answer is very little, because they were very good, very well done. they were following all standards. So the changes are that all hotels wanted to do hygiene labs with a HACCP manager. Now it will be definitely there. Hyatt announced yesterday or day before that each Hyatt hotel in India will have now a hygiene lab, can't be outsourced. So the other part is there will be changes in the locker rooms and there'll be changes in the employee cafeteria. Everything else was already in the guidelines. We don't need to do anything.
Right. There's another question from
Amit,
Vijay
can you put
Mohan.
some light on it?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, there's another question from Vijay Mohan, who is saying, is there a scope of new restaurant now in the near future? Who wants to answer this?
Cloud kitchens, yes, but
Okay.
cloud restaurants. Other ones,
Anything
impossible.
innovative? Anything
Of course.
innovative, experiential? Yes, there is future. If you have not thought of something, I'm sure everybody's going to think of some new ways of giving experiences.
There will be more employee cafeterias in corporate
Yes.
cafeterias, but they will be smaller now. A lot of people will get food from home.
So
And the food will not be, for a long time, will not be served on a buffet. For a long time, it will be in
Package.
It will be packaged, yeah.
so those bento boxes which I was talking about, the packaging, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Amit, your views, please.
Yeah, sure.
So in terms of the front of house spaces, these guidelines from the hospitality, these has been professionals are hired and goes through a lot of extensive vetting in terms of what is happening. So on short-term basis, of course, some changes will happen, especially in terms of all-day dining, because all-day dining is the most dense area. So one change I see happening right away is they might adopt a Europe-like model. In Europe, you have eating in shifts in the evening. So you have 2 time slots for dinner, 8 o'clock and 10 o'clock. So the easiest way to deal with this for hospitality and also for restaurant owners is, of course, you have to follow the physical distancing norms. But let's be smart. Instead of trying to invent too many things, we can look at how Europe was doing it. So we can do 2 seatings. I don't think a person usually spends more than 2 hours at dinner. So if you start at 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock, 9 o'clock to 11 o'clock, so although you are having 50% occupancy, but you still do the same business. So if we are smart about this thing, yeah, we can deal with it. And I think this is what hospitality will also get into. Because if the revenue is not generated, how can you sustain them?
Right. The QSR-based restaurant in the industry is open for some stuff that can be based on IoT and AI-based dispensing machines. What is your thought? Anyways, anything else? Somebody was asking, what is the future of bars? So
they will be. It's not my field, but I read
what are they getting in terms of products and food, and what is the overall experience? So it cannot be just one experience. It has to be an overall experience.
But it will all come back with time.
Yeah. It has to be. I mean,
bars will be
you
full.
You can get the drinks at home. You just don't get the friends at home. So you gotta go out.
Yeah.
I think asked about those bento boxes that I was talking about. Bento boxes, similar disposables. Won't it increase the waste that there is, and will it minimize washing dishes and service gear? What do you say? We'll have to have
plastic will not be allowed.
Yeah. So bento boxes are available in biodisposable.
So there is a need for these boxes to be washed or made of material washable. So there will be that equipment will be needed in base kitchens from where these bento boxes will be sent. That's a fresh requirement.
Actually, I had a question for Mr. Khanna. Hello. Yeah. So I was actually wondering, like, how, like from this point onwards, look, I mean, just like, since you are like have such a great deal of experience in like, back of the house, how do you see things going forward in terms of sustainability? Like, would we be creating more waste to be safe, or how exactly will it be? Because, I know like the kind of, we might be getting a little paranoid regarding the hygiene and everything, but what exactly is that going to result into? Will we, unknowingly generate more waste and become sort of unsustainable? Or, I mean, I'm little curious to know how exactly it's going to go forward.
Yeah. A lot of work is happening in that direction since last 4-5 years. Serious work. So everybody is, all the hotels, restaurants, and other operators are looking at water conservation, electricity conservation. So, talking about using induction cooking to cut down not only on energy efficient, to improve energy efficiency, because they have twice the efficiency of another type of equipment, but also this cuts down on exhaust air requirements. So people use it just for that reason. So all across lighting, LED lighting has come since a long time, and all this a lot of automation. So sustainability in every respect is happening. On food wastage, a lot of work is happening. So we may not be aware, but just 2 years ago, like approximately 1.5 years ago, we had done 2 days of international design summit only on sustainability, well attended by people from across the world. Because it is like, we are late in talking about it in India, but we are talking about it in a serious way. A lot of work is happening. And all, like, you being a designer, that a lot of sanctions for hotels and for colleges and for corporate buildings is given on the basis of zero discharge. So you can neither throw any water or nor any solid waste. So you convert it. You do composting. All hotels do composting now. And if they can't use all the compost, they adopt some schools or some public parks and give it to them. It's happening. And
is there any special focus on takeaways and like the packaging waste that gets created?
I think the more careful ones are going to be using reusable packaging.
Okay.
Like company, like organizations like Akshay Patra, they're not going to use something which will spoil the environment. And the hotels do not use plastic bottles anymore. So they use glass bottles. So they're refilled. So that has happened. It happened overnight. Everybody has switched to that. It's not difficult. They have outsourced the facility. They're contractors who have set up shop in the hotel, and they just keep on filling water. They treat water, make it clean, fill it, and give it to the rooms. And people are happy. Customers are very happy with that. There is no problem. Customers and the plastic bottles are carcinogenic unless they're kept cold throughout. So it doesn't happen that way. A lot of time they are at high temperatures during transit or during storage. So these are good developments which are happening. And somehow India, and we feel India is not aware, but the Indians, just like we responded extremely well to the pandemic, similarly, the moment we talk about sustainability, there's a huge reception from the youngsters, others. There's very positive reactions because we understand our problem. We have a lot of population. So the response is terrific. So results come quickly.
So, all right.
No resistance.
I'm about to end it. People are dropping off. I think it's time that we talk about a last positive message of what we can do. So, what is the silver lining? I think Britta can talk about it once, and we'll end it with, I think, maybe Sharad or somebody else.
Yeah.
Britta, what is the one last silver lining that you as a designer, and we're talking about sustainable designs, and we're talking about smart, designs. What is that one final advice or suggestion to restaurant owners and hospitality owners?
It's all about experience, I would say. Increase the experience, people will come. Make them feel safe and give them experience besides additional, of course, good food and good service.
I'd just like to add one thing, that the first 1 or 2 months is very critical because how we handle the opening in the first 1 or 2 months will define the future of restaurant.
Great.
We should not rush. We should take our time. But when we open, proper system.
Good idea. But when you open it well, and that's why we are here today discussing that. What are the steps that one needs to take to reopen? Don't open in a hurry. Put everything together in place. Don't do it by the fly. Take help. There are a lot of help. People are ready to help, like all of us here. And then they take some professional advice if required. It will be good money put into good use if you will require a professional
I have
help.
a silver. I have my idea of silver lining.
हाँ, बोलिए.
The hospitality, the food and beverage business has been recession proof for the last so many years, 15, 20 years. It grew slowly, but it has grown consistently. We had drop in demand in every other sector, automobiles, other sectors. We never had it in food. So we were complacent. We were getting complacent. Now suddenly we have this COVID-19 where we are at the receiving end for the first time and we are the most affected. We'll have the last recovery. So a lot of good things will come out of this because we're facing hard times. So we'll get polished, we'll learn, we'll train.
We'll get
Yeah.
innovative.
So that means we'll be ready for a long innings ahead.
Great. So
I think things will get back normal very soon. It's just a flu. So I think we should stay calm but not panic as well.
There's some good news of vaccines being are being developed by Italy, by Israel. So hopefully things are back, but till such time they're not back, we architects and designers are here to help everyone whatever way we can, and we will send out a joint PPT if possible soon. Most of you have left your email IDs, and if you haven't, please get in touch with the on the details available at HCS Global website, and then they will get back to you.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks. We had a stupendous attendance, and there were more than 100 people, so it was great.
Thank you for all the attendees and the panelists.
Thank you to the panelists. All of you have been great. It has been insightful for me too. Thank you so much.
Sona, that was a brilliant job of moderating. Let me compliment that.
Thank you.
You ran the show very well. So I've seen very few people who can be that articulate. So that's a great.
Thank you. No, you guys were great, and from all of you, we've learned something. I'm sure attendees have taken away. There have been some takeaways, and hopefully they have been practical, and we'll be able to help them once we actually send them